mom kicks out my 16-year-old sister for not doing it with my rich neighbor's boy. So first off, I'm on mobile. Now some backstory. My parents had a very ugly divorce and my mother got full custody of my sister, 16, and apparently didn't want me, because she didn't even bring me up in court. So I'm with my dad now. Since my parents got a prenup, my dad kept all his money. We live in a pretty wealthy neighborhood. We're probably the poorest there. Our next door neighbor has a lot of money. We go over for dinner and his son can't stop talking about it. His son, 17, goes to school with my younger sister. So my mother and her are over for dinner a lot. My mother didn't work while they were married, 15 years, so she's not well off financially. My neighbor's son, we'll call him Jack, has taken a very sexual interest in my sister, taking any chance to flex his money and catcall her. So one night, my mother, father, sister, and I were at dinner with my neighbor. Not 15 minutes after we arrive, he begins harassing my sister, telling about how hard he wanted to bone her, and making an excessive amount of remarks on her breasts and ass. My mother apparently thought that as Jack and my sister did it, they might get married and my mom would get some of his money. So after dinner, he invited my sister to go upstairs with him. She was reluctant, but he practically forced her up the stairs. I filled them because I wasn't about to allow a rich asshole rape my sister. So I'm sitting outside his room when I hear a commotion and some yelling. I stand up and my sister run out of his room, with her dress torn across her chest and some down the front, leaving her breasts exposed. She hides behind me calling for my mother and father. I'm at this point ready to actually beat the snob to death. He comes out saying, "What's wrong, girl? I just having a little fun," to which I replied, "Fun's over," and grab him. My parents and Jack's father are upstairs before I can do anything. My father's pissed and puts his jacket on my sister, so she has some cover. He says, "What the fuck is going on here? Did you do this to my little girl?" His father steps in and tells us it's time to leave. So we head out, trying not to make any illegal mistakes. Once we're out, my mother grabs my little sister and says, "What the hell is wrong with you? You could have had it all, but you gave it away, you moron. I think you need to stay at your father's for a little while." And storms to her car and drives off. That was 2 years ago. My little sister is about to graduate high school, and has forgotten about my mother pretty much altogether. I still see Jack at some video game tournaments on my college campus. He avoids me and I avoid him. Sometimes we play in bracket, and he sucks. Every time, I take his money. I immediately give it to my sister when I get home. Sort of like a retribution fund from him. He's given her over $2,500 in these past 2 years. Our fathers are still friends and hang out a good amount. TLDR, my sister was almost raped, and was then disowned for not going through with it. My father and this boy's fathers are still friends. And I kick his ass every week at Smash Ultimate tournaments at my university. Why didn't you get the cops involved? He could have a history of this with other less lucky girls. My father chose not to get cops involved because my sister was traumatized, but she still wasn't raped. She chose not to because she didn't want anyone at school to know about it. She didn't want it to HWT twisted, turning her into a bad person in some people's eyes. Yet I guess some things are better left unsaid. But still, he can go to jail for a long time, and since she's under 18, at the time of it happening, he could have been considered a pedophile. It seems odd to me that if your parents ended up in court fighting for custody, that they would be going out to dinner with each other to your neighbor's house. Also, if your mother was married for 15 years and stayed home to bring up the children, she would be entitled to maintenance and child support from your dad even with a prenup. And in one comment you said you were living independently, in another you said you lived with your dad. This story is full of contradictions. Yet I thought the same. If they had such a messy divorce and had to go to court, I doubt they have dinner together. With neighbors as well. Wouldn't they just have dinner separately on different nights with the neighbors if they're both friends with them? Also, what neighbors think I'll invite N over for dinner? I mean, I know they're divorced, but that's entirely unfortunate for her, but I'm glad she's okay now. And with that type of mom, you don't want that in your life. I would forget about her, too. Any person who puts financial gain over anyone else, including their children, are going to a special place in hell. May she rot and perish.